Jeremy, I know a lot of people watching this right now, people who are not familiar with this world, might hear the words PTSD, TBI. Maybe they see it in the news, they see it in movies, and they think those two words are interchangeable. You just take one, they mean the same thing. You can swap them, makes no difference. I know that that's not true. And I'm wondering, could you explain to our audience what the difference between TBI and PTSD is?
Yeah, so they're two separate issues. They have overlapping symptoms, but they come from two different places. So PTSD, I guess the best way I can explain it, it's the body's physiological response to a traumatic event. That could be a major traumatic event. So in the context of, operators or whatnot, could be losing or witnessing, the death of a close friend or teammate overseas. And I'll just pause for a second and say anybody can get traumatic brain injury or PTSD for sure. So again, back to the definition of PTSD, it's the body's physiological response to a traumatic. And then once that happens, that traumatic event can be triggered again by anything like smell, sight, sound, anything that kind of brings back the memory of that traumatic event. Now for TBI is, it's traumatic brain injury. So it's damage to the brain itself. And so within our population, we see blast wave exposure and concussive impact forces can cause significant TBI. And, it's suggested that 85% of SOF operators experience TBI from training alone, much less combat. Right. So again, two separate things, but overlapping symptoms. Those overlapping symptoms can be depression, can be sleep, mood, angry outbursts, things along that line. So there are different ways of treating those, but I guess the symptoms overlap so much that people think of them as pretty much the same.
And one term I hear guys talk about from the world that you came from, whether it be in the Army, Navy, elsewhere, they talk about, and I've done a little reading on it, what is referred to as operator syndrome. Have you ever heard that before?
Absolutely.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the basic idea of operator syndrome is that when you've got gunfire that you're close to at all times, breaching charges, explosions, that over time, simply being in the proximity of that over the course of years and years and years, that's going to impact your brain. Is that kind of what that means?
Yeah, operator syndrome was a research paper, and now it's become a book. I would, everybody's interested in that kind of thing, I would say buy the book and read it. So operator syndrome is just a term used for all the issues, kind of the root causes. And that could be, PTSD, it could be traumatic brain injury, which affects your endocrine system. So, endocrine system dysfunction, relational issues. And so it's like the whole biopsychosocial model of healthcare. So what it does is it kind of identifies all the root causes and issues that, operators over a long career would have under that umbrella of operator syndrome. So what you're describing is traumatic brain injury as a result of being exposed to concussive blast waves. And that's really just part of the puzzle.
Got it. And that makes perfect sense. And I'm glad that you said they turned it into a book. So if you're watching this and you're interested in learning more about it, obviously there's a book out there.